This recording is about the syllabus, so I'm only talking about the part of the syllabus that is common regardless of which class you're taking from me. So let's go ahead and get started. But it is noteworthy to know that the syllabus is about expectations, it's about the structure of the class, it is about how you are supported as a student, and also how you can succeed in this class. So we'll get back to these 4 points occasionally, and just to make sure that we are addressing these particular items. So we'll get started on, well, I'm not going to follow the order, but you're expected to read the entire syllabus. But this discussion can start with section 19, which is what most people are concerned about, is how do I get a grade out of this class? How is it calculated? There are 4 main components to the scores that will be used at the end of the semester to calculate your letter grade. The first one is the homework and assignments, and in some cases those are also called labs. So when you look at a lab, you basically are looking at the same thing as an assignment. All the assignments, all the labs, and all the quizzes, they only add up to 20% of your score. And then there are 3 exams. The first exam, which takes up the entire class period, which is 80 minutes, will have it's going to take up 20% of your score. The second exam will also take up 20% of your score, and then the final exam will take up 40% of your score. The first exam happens at about 1/3 through the semester. The second exam happens at about 2/3 through the semester. The final exam does occur at the final week, because we have synchronous lectures, so that means we are following the final exam schedule. So I will talk to each class individually about the time of the final exam, and I do expect the entire class to take the final exam at that time. So you might need to make some arrangements prior to the final exam to make sure that you can make it to that time slot to take the final exam. All right, so now that we know the percentages of the activities adding up to your score at the end of the semester, now the question is, how do I come up with your letter grade? So this is about your letter grade. Okay, let me move this out a little bit. And most people are concerned about just the percentages. So to get an A out of this class, which is a GPA of 4.0, you need to have at least 87.5% of all the scores. If for B, which is a GPA of 3.0, that would be between 62.5%, at least this much, and not reaching 87.5%, because if anyone is reaching 87.5%, that would be an A. This is a GPA of a C, 2.0, and to get C, someone needs 37.5% of the score, and up to 62.5%. But if somebody is reaching 62.5%, that would be a B already. This is for a D, a GPA of 1.0, and to get a D, someone needs to have at least 12.5% of all the scores and not reaching 37.5%. And anyone who has a score of less than 12.5% is going to get a GPA of 0.0, which is an F. All right, so I think these are the most concerned parts of a syllabus, but then we have to go back to look at something that I think is also very important. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, and what we'll do is we are going to look at this from the perspective of what you can expect. Okay, so we will start with expectations. So we'll start with presentations. So as far as presentation is concerned, in other words, how is the class content delivered for a synchronous class, okay, or this is a hybrid between synchronous and asynchronous. So you can choose how you want to receive the content. If you want to participate in a synchronous mode, okay, which is this one here, it is either face-to-face, which is out of the question for this semester, or it can be live streamed through Discord in this case. I also live stream or co-live stream to YouTube, but YouTube has a horrendous lag. So I encourage people only to use Discord to watch the lecture in a synchronous mode. Now I do have to mention, in the synchronous mode has certain advantages. The most important one is it is real time. Okay, if you have a question, you can either use the voice channel or you can use the text channel to let me know that you have a question. Type the question, do a little screenshot, copy and paste it into the text channel. Or if you do not want other students to know that you have asked a question, you can even direct message me, and I will keep your identity hidden. Okay, and I'll just mention that, okay, a student was asking this particular question. So now you have a multitude of ways to ask questions in class. And the best thing is I will answer those questions right away. There's no turnaround time. And if I need clarifications of those questions, and I will ask for clarifications like right away. So that means the turnaround time is really fast, and I think that is the most effective way to have a class. Okay, and I personally enjoy discussions. Instead of having just me talking about stuff, okay, I like to have questions where I can answer, and I like to have students to participate also in those discussions. So, so synchronous mode is highly recommended, especially when this class is now online. I do understand that some people cannot make it to the synchronous class or synchronous sessions because they have to work, they have families to take care of, and basically a whole lot of other reasons why they cannot make it to that time slot. I do understand. So for those people, they can participate in the asynchronous mode where they can watch the recorded class lectures. Now, synchronous or not, okay, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, I do expect students to attend, quote unquote, every single lecture. In other words, if somebody asks me a question which clearly reflects that that person has not watched a video of a lecture, I will just tell that person to watch the video. I do not do this to be mean, okay? I do this because I think if I just answer the question, it really is not an effective way to learn the content of the class. Watching the video or participating in the synchronous lecture is how people learn, okay? But that's just my model. All right, so that's just about presentation, and more expectations to follow, which is regarding regular effective contact and communication policy. So the key is here in section 6 is how do you contact me and what you can expect out of these attempts to communicate with me. Office hours are the best way to contact me because you know that I will be present, okay, using Discord. And because Discord has text channels, so you can, we can even have multiple people participating in a discussion if they want to. Now, on the other hand, if somebody says, I just have a question that I want to ask you in private, you can direct message me. You can even voice message me. We can talk over Discord, or you can even share your screen and show me and say, well, I tried to do this, which you did in class, but I couldn't quite get it going. Can you take a look at how I do this and help me out in terms of getting it to work? So all of that can be done in office hours. For other people who want to contact me outside of office hours, you can email or you can phone. Okay, these are pretty traditional ways to contact me, email and phone. You can also use the Canvas messaging ability to contact me. That really boils down to email as well in the end. Okay. So what I did not list here is Discord. So Discord is really the best communication platform as far as I'm concerned for classes because it is really quite instantaneous. The app is always running in the background on my phone and also on my computer, which sometimes is a problem because I kind of need to have breaks, right? I cannot keep answering questions, during the entire day, okay? So if anything, Discord is too good of a communication platform. I kind of have to hide from Discord from time to time, which also brings us back to the office hour, okay? If you want to make sure that I am actually reading your messages and responding as much as I can, then do it during the office hour where, I'm guaranteed to be attending Discord at that time. Outside of the office hour and outside of the lab and lecture hours, I can decide when I want to read the Discord questions. Okay, so there's no guarantee other than within 24 hours if something is happening outside of the office hours, outside of the lecture or lab hours. Over the weekend, it's going to be 48 hours for the turnaround time for obvious reasons. Okay, weekends are for non-work related stuff as far as I'm concerned, so I kind of want to have a little bit more leeway. Now, does that mean that I always wait 48 hours before I respond to something over the weekend? No. Okay, but I just want to give myself up to 48 hours in case I got stuff to do. All right, so those are all expectations, but also structures. Okay, so I want to kind of touch on structure a little bit, because I know that myself, if I don't have structure, I cannot get things done. Okay, in other words, if I were to teach this class in an asynchronous mode, I probably would have forgotten that I was assigned a class to teach. So structure keeps me on track. And I suspect that the same applies to some of you, where if you know ahead of time that you need to be going onto Discord every Tuesdays and Thursdays, from a certain time to another time, and you allocate that time slot for yourself for the class, that is structure. Okay, because in that case, you always do something at a particular time, and I think it is healthy. Now, I understand that some people like online classes because it is not structured. But in order to get things done, okay, at least for myself, I need structure to get things done. Okay, so that's partially why I think synchronous mode in terms of the lecture delivery is better than asynchronous, because asynchronous basically just says, oh, you mean I have up to 24 hours or whatever amount of time to watch this before the next lecture? I can just put it off. I can procrastinate. That is not effective. Okay, and I procrastinate a lot. So since I know myself, I know that, well, I better do things in a synchronous mode, because this way I cannot procrastinate as much. Cool. All right, so let's talk about conduct policy. So there's a whole bunch of stuff related to conduct policy. This link, I think, is out of date. On the other hand, if you look up expectations of behavior and conduct and American River College using Google, you will find it. Okay, so I just need to update this link to reflect the actual URL. It is a very useful document because it outlines what people should be doing as students and what things students are not supposed to be doing. But it also outlines what happens when a student is wrongfully accused for doing whatever, what channels can a student go through to protest that accusation. So I think in general this is a very useful document to read, and as I said, the link is incorrect at this point, and I have to write down to remind myself to fix that link. So fix the link to expectations of behavior and conduct. So this is also something that I'm showing you right now, is when you are watching the video, okay, when you are attending the lecture, since it is either already recorded or it is being recorded, don't try to copy everything that I put on the screen. Okay, it is somewhat pointless to do that. Instead, use a little notepad like what I have here. Okay, you can use a really regular notepad in Windows, you can use Microsoft Word, you can use Google Doc, but use something to jot down notes. Okay, and what you need to jot down is not something that is already in the recording. You want to jot down things that can help you remember and understand the concepts. So we'll get on to that part in just a little bit. So conduct policy, which is section 7 here, is about making the quote-unquote classroom a support structure, and also helping to ensure success of the class. In other words, we're trying to establish an environment in which people can learn effectively. So the first thing, is an intentional distraction or distracting behavior. This happens more in a face-to-face class where somebody's phone is ringing, somebody is getting a ping from somebody else on the phone, people are chatting in class and stuff like that. In an online situation, it does not happen as often, okay, especially when we are on Discord, where if two people want to talk to each other, they can always direct message each other, right? So that is, I cannot even see it, okay? So I cannot just tell people, okay, maybe you guys should focus on what I'm talking about and not chatting with each other. So for all I really know and care, people can chat with each other using direct message all day long, okay? But there's one thing that is up to me. If people are distracting each other and does not or cannot pay attention in class and ask me about something that I just said, okay, and ask, can you just repeat that? The answer is, I probably cannot. Not will not, but cannot. Because when I talk, things are formulated like in real time on the fly. I do not have a script to read from. So as a result, if somebody were to ask me, can you just repeat what you said in the previous sentence? The answer is no, I cannot, because I simply cannot remember what I said. So that means it is important to pay attention in class. Okay, even though you can talk to each other using direct messaging, using your cell phone and other things, because as long as it doesn't distract the rest of the class, I don't know, and I cannot even care, even if I wanted to. But the result of being distracted, I understand that sometimes distraction is from sources that you have no control over, okay? And that's fine, okay? I can probably, try to re-explain something, even though I cannot quite use exactly the same sentence again. But I would like to limit those cases to a minimum, if possible. Now, section 7.2 and 7.3 are much more serious stuff, okay? These are intentional behavior, either to cause confusion, fear, intimidation, or discomfort, or even worse, okay, to cause violence and other dangerous, and endanger other people. So all of these cannot be tolerated at all, okay? Now somebody may ask, well, but this is online, right? How can we do something like this online? People can do all of these online, okay? Because someone can post a link to a really questionable website and disguise it as something else and just go like, oh, click on this link here, I think you'll find a better explanation of a particular concept, but it's not, okay? So any type of behavior like that, I will report it to the student conduct office, because these behaviors, 7.3 especially, absolutely cannot be tolerated. All right, so we are moving on to section 8, which is the first day of class. I have already explained to you using another announcement that first day of class attendance on the first day of class is required, okay? Anyone who is not quote unquote attending the first day of class will be dropped. Section 9 is about accommodation. So for various disabilities, you can contact the DSPS office in order to get support from the DSPS office. Now, if you think that there's something I can do in order to, like, maybe teaching the class in a slightly different way or include certain things in my lecture, you can let me know, okay? I don't have a problem of changing the way that I teach in order to accommodate, more people. On the other hand, there are resources that I simply do not have. For instance, I do not know how to sign. So if somebody says, I need a signer in order to understand what you're saying verbally, I cannot do that, okay? So for that resource, you have to contact the DSPS office. And the DSPS office probably will have to accommodate in that case because we do have synchronous lectures. So it's not pre-recorded. Now, the recorded one, since it's on YouTube, they're automatically closed captioned. And the closed captioning AI of YouTube is actually very, very effective. As a result, if you watch a recorded session of one of my lectures, you can turn on closed captioning, and it is quite accurate. I would say it's probably hovering maybe around 95 to 97% accurate. So it's not bad, okay? So it does work out. All right, so moving on to section 10, okay? Section 10 is about absences. So absences belong to, out of these four, it belongs to expectations, as well as structure, as well as success, okay? Because, not attending classes is really detrimental to trying to succeed in the class. Now, I do understand sometimes people do not attend class, not because they're lazy, not because they don't want to, but simply because, stuff happens in life, okay? I do understand that. I do not imply any intention to take the shortcut or any laziness, on that person's behalf. I'm simply stating that not attending lectures regularly can really impact a person's chance of passing or succeeding in a class. Okay, so that is kind of important. So what I do with absences is, with an online class, okay, I sent this already to all of you. What I do is, in the middle somewhere, okay, out in the lecture, I will disclose a key to a quote-unquote quiz in Canvas. And the only reason, for that, little key is to make sure that people, quote-unquote, attend a class. So now, let's say the key is, I'm just picking a word out of the day. Let's say it's Turing, okay, Turing, because that's the last name of the father of modern computer science. So I would say in the class, in the middle, I'll go like, okay, today's role-taking activity has a key of Turing. And I'll mention it. I might even type it somewhere, so it's recorded in the video. So after that, okay, I will not mention that again. And there will be an activity, for that particular quote-unquote day. So a day, in this case, starts with the begin time of a synchronous lecture up to 24 hours after that. So the 24 hours after the beginning of a synchronous lecture is called a day, okay? So within that day, people can go into Canvas, type in the key, press the enter key, submit it, and that's it, okay? So this is how I take roll, okay? So if people cannot attend the synchronous lecture, that's okay, as long as they watch the video and have enough time to put in the key into the role-taking activity within 24 hours, it will still be okay. It still counts, okay? And people who do not do this, okay, people who do not get 100% score in one of these activities, each time a person is not getting 100% in one of these activities is counted as an absence. And 3 absences basically will add up to become excessive. So I can only do 2 lectures per week, okay, because I have already scheduled Tuesdays and Thursdays as our lecture days. So we only do 2 lectures per week. So that means if somebody wants to be dropped because of excessive absences, that person actually has to miss basically 3 lectures, which will take more than a week to accumulate that much absences. And I do take role, seriously, which means, if I see someone is missing a lecture, I will probably kind of email that person and go like, wait, you have missed the role-taking activity, just kind of make sure that you don't miss a whole lot more, because this is how we, calculate, absences for the to get to the threshold for being dropped, okay? Because I do not want people to miss lectures. Does that mean that there's no other way to kind of get around this problem and defeat, these role-taking activities? Pretty sure there are ways to do it, okay? But the point is, I'm doing this not to help me, okay? Because I don't get anything out of this. Nothing at all, okay? This is just giving me more work, if not anything else. This is designed to help you, to help, students in general, to have structure, okay, to attend the lectures regularly, okay. So defeating this role taking activity thing, to me, is self-defeating. But I'm not going to stop people from self-defeating behavior, okay. So that's all I have to say about that. All right, so moving on, there are certain excuses that can be that will be accepted, okay, certain absences that will be excused. So a student's own health related issues can be excused. If somebody is to tell me, but I'm really sick, I cannot even get online, okay, I cannot even go online to watch the video and show that I'm present, okay. Well, that is okay, but I need proof, okay. So I need a doctor's note or some sort of evidence that I can accept in order to say that yes, I see that you are sick, okay, so that absence is excused. The second point doesn't work anymore, okay, because back in the day when we still go to class face to face and people go to athletic events, sometimes they get requests from a coach and go like, hey, we got a ball game on a certain day at a certain time, and that turns out to be coinciding with an actual lecture time. So it doesn't really happen anymore. So I don't think, okay, I do not think that I'm gonna get any of these anymore. On the other hand, I think the Sacramento courts are open now, so some people may get summoned to the court, okay, for jury duty or for other reasons, okay. It doesn't matter why, okay. If you are summoned to the court, you better go. So, but you have to let me know why you're missing a class, why you cannot, attend the class. So in that case, you can send me a proof of your summon of some kind, from a court. You can black out the portion that I do not need to know, okay. I do understand that there are privacy issues concerned here. Just kind of black out the portions that I do not need to know, but it does need to show which court, your name, the date, the time, the duration, and stuff like that. So you can always email me or just Discord me and ask me what kind of proof do I need for an excused absence. 11.1 is a non-exclusive list of absences that I do not excuse. Religious holidays, family occasions, job interviews, work-related issues, transportation problems, which is not really an excuse anymore because this is an online class. Childcare related issues, I can see that being an issue, but nonetheless, it is not an excused absence. So you got two, unexcused absences that you can use throughout the entire semester to handle any one of these, items. Late policy. So this one has to do with expectations. It also has to do with success, okay? Because I need to let you know that I do not take any late submissions at all, okay? So there's nothing like, well, if it's 1 day late, you get 50% of the score. There's nothing like that, okay? If it is late, it is not getting a score, okay? It's not getting a point. Most homework, if not all, will have at least 1 week to complete. So that means you got 184 hours to kind of plan out how you want to approach the problem. No, I take it back. I think it's 168 hours. Let me double check because I hate to get the math wrong. Yep, 168 hours. So with 7 days, you have 168 hours, and I think it is reasonable that I can count on you to schedule your time to get things done. Okay, so the late policy is pretty stiff, okay, it's not negotiable. It simply says, if you turn in something late, it doesn't count. Now, that being said, you already know that all the homework assignments, all the labs, they add up to, guess what, 20%, right? So each one is not really worth that many points, okay? They do add up collectively to 20%, but each one is not going to be that many, it doesn't have that much point value, okay? but it is still a good idea not to be late. So start on your homework, start on your lab as soon as possible, and just kind of pace yourself. Now, because we have 2 meetings per week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so that means after I assign a particular homework assignment, there is at least 1 class meeting before it is due. So that means even if somebody is stuck, there is at least 1 class meeting where that can be brought up so that I can try to address any questions regarding that homework or lab. Okay. So I think all of that basically add up to be like, well, I don't think there are any reasons for things to be turning late. But it is on you to kind of schedule your time, and structure your own time accordingly. Get started early as soon as possible, okay, to get things done. Section 13 is a big one, okay? So Section 13 has to do with expectations, has to do with structure. It also has to do with success, okay? Because I think academic dishonesty absolutely cannot be tolerated, okay? That may be just me, okay? I'm not sure how other professors look at it, but as far as I'm concerned, this is a big no-no. And the way I look at academic dishonesty, known otherwise as quote-unquote cheating, is it occurs when a student attempts to or participates in any activity to attempt to show possession of a level of competency, knowledge, or skill beyond the level of the student or some other students, okay? So this part is important, okay? Of the student, quote unquote, in parentheses, self, or some other students, third party. This is really important because anyone who is helping someone else to show possession of a level of competency, knowledge, or skill that is beyond the actual level is also considered participants in academic dishonesty. All right, so this really doesn't show how it is done. All it shows is the intent and the intended result. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, if I can find evidence that suggests the intention and also the intended result, I will count it as academic dishonesty. All right, so let's move on. And section 13.1 is a slightly more positive way to look at the same thing. Basically, it's saying in integrity, which is the opposite of dishonesty, is the grade of a particular assessment of a particular student reflects the academic performance of the student and only of the student who turned in the assessment work. So not of somebody else, okay? It has to be of the student and only of that student. Using at the approved scheduled time of the assessment, following all the rules of the assessment, as well as general rules already discussed in the syllabus, unless otherwise stated, and only using resources that are allowed by the instructor. So that's a more positive way to look at this subject matter, okay? 13.2 talks about the limits test, okay, which is basically something that I can request a student to do. Let's just say that a student has a particular assessment and the result of that assessment is not consistent with the historical performance of that student by a margin, okay? So I can basically have my suspicion and ask the student to take another test where I actually use a webcam and other ways to closely monitor how that student answered the test. So this is called a litmus test. Basically it is for me to double check to make sure that, to see if there are reasons for me to doubt the result of the assessment. Okay, so that can happen to some people. Okay, I have yet to use it, but I can imagine that there are cases where I might want to use it. So section 13.3 talks about why I emphasize academic honesty this much. Well, first of all, I think it is about fairness. Okay, if I don't pay attention to academic honesty or integrity, we might have a whole group of students who do not really know the subject matter. Okay, after they transfer to, let's say, UC Davis, and at UC Davis, let's just say that we are back to face-to-face modality, and they have a much more stringent way of making sure that people cannot cheat. Okay, and they find out that, hey, how come a significant number of students transferring from ARC do not succeed in our classes, and sooner or later they will find out that we at ARC is not upholding the standard. And as a result, UC Davis can break their articulation agreement with ARC and simply say that, sorry, we cannot take your students after they complete these classes, because there's clear evidence that your standard is too low. Okay, that can potentially happen. It is unfair to students who are honest, who took the test, and the test result actually reflect their academic performance. So I cannot let a few people who are dishonest to cause problems for the majority who are honest. So that's one of the main reasons why I emphasize this so much. So what are the consequences of academic dishonesty? Well, first of all, the assessment where the behavior occurred will get a 0. The entire assessment will get a 0. In other words, if I find somebody who has one single question out of 4 that reflects that it might have been copied from another person, and usually when I say it might have been, I have pretty solid proof. Okay, that means that will basically make the entire test, the entire assessment, getting a 0. Okay, that is going to happen regardless. And this part is up to me to decide. Okay, because faculty has basically sovereignty over grade assigning. Now, starting in fall 2019, every single case that I have identified as academic dishonesty will also be reported to the Student Conduct Office, the Office of Student Conduct. So basically, there's a person over there who maintain a list of these incidents and people who basically got mentioned in these incidents. So that person who is not faculty, that person is in administration. Okay, that person has access to all the basically historical data, and if that person sees a pattern, that can lead to some serious results. Okay, if there is a pattern and the dean, not the dean, this is actually a AVP or assistant vice president of the college, that person can call for suspension or even expulsion of people who show a pattern of this kind of behavior. Okay, so my job is to report, and the job of this person in the Student Conduct Office is to look for patterns. Okay, look for repeated cases, look for historical data, and see, and basically look at each case individually and find out, okay, so in this particular case, what are we going to do about it? Okay, it is up to that person, the administrator, to make that decision. So once again, I need to update this link here, but you can find it just by Google search. Classroom behavior expectations, I think most of this is not really relevant anymore, so I'm just gonna ignore that. How to attend lectures, I think the main point is, okay, you might want to jot down the timestamp. Okay, as you can see here at the lower right corner of your screen, there's an actual time. This is the real time of when this video clip is recorded. So you can always jot down on your own notes. Okay, and you just mention today is 2020 August 22nd, and the time is approximately 12:15, and Tech is about to talk about how to attend classes. Okay, so now you have a catalog If you do this consistently, then you end up with a catalog that will map the time, date, and time of my video recording to topics. And that can really help you if you need to revisit a particular topic. You don't have to search anymore. You don't have to look, oh my goodness, there are like 10 different videos and each one is 80 minutes long. Where is the part when TAC talk about blah blah blah? Okay, you don't have to go through that search. All you have to do is to go to your own index, look it up, find out what date, what time, and all the videos that I record have a timestamp and it has a date stamp on it, so you can just look it up, click on it, fast forward to the time based on what you see at the lower right corner over here. I'm pretty sure you guys can do time divisions, right? You can look at the time that you want to get to, and you look at the start time of the entire thing, and you know how much you have to skip in the video clip. But the point is, you can get to that part really fast. Okay, so that is really important when you take classes that has recording like this. Section 17, I'm guessing most people would skip this, but I think it is actually very, very important. This part, I would say, has to do with expectations, it has to do with support, and it definitely has to do with success. Okay, so the idea is I assign grades based on whether I can see that you understand the concepts. Now, how can I tell whether you understand the concepts or not? I cannot do a Vulcan mind meld like Mr. Spock or other Vulcans, right? I cannot read your mind. Okay, there's no way I can tell whether you understand a concept or not. So the only way I can do that is to give you a problem to solve. I'll give you a problem where the solution, okay, to come up with the solution, it will require you to, 1, understand and know the concepts, and 2, be able to apply those concepts to solve the problem. Okay, so that is how I do assessments in this class. And as a result, your job, okay, it is very important for you to understand the concepts. Now, it sounds pretty simple, okay, because a lot of people will tell me and go like, I thought that I understood the concept, but how come I am not getting a good score out of the test? Well, I can tell you historically that is usually because people misunderstand the word understanding. Yes, so that means that there's some kind of meta understanding, the understanding of understanding happening here. So the question really is, it boils down to what is understanding. And I think a lot of people misunderstand understanding and think that memorization is understanding. It is not, okay? Being able to regurgitate, being able to find where the definitions are in my text and stuff like that, that is not understanding. Understanding is something that is difficult to test unless there's a problem to solve involving the concepts that someone is supposed to have understood. So that really is the bottom line of understanding, is if those concepts can be applied to solve a problem, then there is evidence of understanding. So this entire section really has to do with what is understanding, and also it talks about what if someone says but what if I don't understand a concept? What do I do? Okay, I think a common approach to this scenario is I'm just gonna ignore that. Okay, I'll move on and just move on. Okay, that doesn't work. Okay, because a lot of concepts in classes that I teach, they all stack up, which means if concept A is not understood, all the other concepts B, C, and D and so on that are built upon concept A, they will not be understood correctly either. Okay, so the idea is don't move on. Okay, you gotta make sure that you understand each concept correctly before you move on. Okay. Then I talk about problem solving, and I talk about independence. Now, independence is actually a very important topic. It has to do with, let's just say that I'm not quite understanding a particular concept. Okay, I know that I do not understand it. Okay, because I know that if I understand the concept, I would be able to solve this problem. But since I cannot solve the problem, it means I do not understand the concept. So now the question is what to do when that happens. Okay, let's just say that I give the class a homework assignment. Okay, and somebody looked at the homework assignment and go like, I don't know how to do this. Okay, I know what Tech talked about in class, but I don't know how to do this homework assignment. So now the question is, when do you think this person should ask someone to help him or her to do the homework? That's really the question. Okay, so should this person wait 5 minutes or 10 minutes before asking another person? Or do you think this person should wait like 6 days and 23 hours and 58 minutes before asking, so that this person will have 2 minutes to finish the homework assignment because it's due in a week? Well, the obvious answer is somewhere in between, right? So in general, I think it is okay to have maybe spend a day on it. Okay, not just minutes. Okay, I have seen people starting to ask peers, how do I do this in 5 minutes? Okay, they got the lab in 5 minutes. I see people asking another person of how do I do this. Okay, I don't think that's productive, because if the other person answers and go like, okay, let me show you how to do this, the first person who's the person who's asking the question, they would not get a chance to exercise. Okay, will not get a chance to actually try to reason it through, and that is really bad. Okay, because I think if somebody were to give the first person the answer, the first person would just understand in that particular instance how to answer the question. And guess what? When I ask questions in tests, in the exams, I always find a way to ask for evidence of the understanding of a concept that I have not used previously in class. Okay, because the idea is I need to see that people can problem solve and not just to reuse skills they have already learned in class. So that means asking for an answer too early may be okay to get the assignment done, okay, on time, but ultimately it's gonna hurt big time when it comes to the exams and the assessments. Okay, it'll come to the exams, the 2 exams and the final exam. So I would encourage people to spend more time, maybe a day or so, to kind of let it soak. Okay, let it stew. Okay, let it slow cook. Okay, and then ask questions. Okay, each person may have a slightly different threshold before they get so frustrated that they either give up or they explode. Okay, but I can only make a recommendation of, okay, let's try to let it stew for about 24 hours. Okay, before asking somebody else. All right, so I think I covered everything already. If you have any specific questions about the syllabus, do not hesitate to ask me. And once again, I will go fix the links, because I got it written down here. Okay, and if I did not, I would have totally forgotten already, which I have forgotten many times already. So this time I got everything written down. Hopefully I will do it right away and not get distracted by something else. So once again, if you have any questions about the syllabus, please read the entire syllabus. Okay, and if you have any questions about the syllabus, contact me and let me know. All right.